Greetings. I hope that you're having a good week and that you found this and you're ready to go for today. So today we're going to be talking about the Connected Educator, and throughout this whole course you're going to hear a lot of talk about the power of social media in schools and what we can do with it as educators, what we can do with it to build our own professional or personal learning network, but also for our students. Today we're going to be talking mainly about how we can use social media to build our own professional or personal learning network. And I'm going to say professional and personal, and the other word is personalized. Lots of different words are used for that, but the idea is you kind of can create your own community of people that you're learning from and that are learning from you, and also you can collect resources this way. This is probably the most powerful thing I can tell you as a teacher as far as professional development goes. When you get into classes, and even just sitting in this class, there's a lot of sit and get, and you hear things and then you're expected to go try them and all that kind of stuff. But the just-in-time factor of being connected to educators online is super powerful, and you're learning from a bigger group of people than you can do in your own school settings. So it's something I really believe in, and we will talk about it quite a bit. But today we're going to get a little bit start with it. Okay, again, reminding myself that in this class we're going to create, communicate, collaborate, and think critically. Now this is our Wednesday class, as you know, that it's Wednesday, and normally I will not be in class and you will not meet as a class on Wednesdays. The lessons will be designed to be done either on Canvas as a video lesson, or you'll have some kind of activity that you do on your own on that day. And it'll also always be connected with our Google Plus community. So that's how Wednesdays will work. I am out of town right now, but you are welcome to email me if you have questions about anything. I'm recording this ahead of time instead of connecting with you on Wednesday as I normally would, just because I really have no idea where I'm going to be on Wednesday the 13th, or whatever day that is. It's not the 13th. Whatever day that is next week. I will be traveling, and I'm not sure what kind of internet connections I'll have or anything like that. So I'm jumping ahead and making sure I have things ready for you to do. As I said before, planning to be out of class as a teacher is way harder than planning to be in class. Okay, so in this class today, we're going to be talking about the idea of, as I said, professional personal learning networks, and we're going to participate in our online community, and we're going to set up a tool for curating educational content and resources. So as you build this professional learning network, you're going to get lots of great resources. So you're going to want to have a place to start collecting those resources. So this is a quote by George Couros. I follow George Couros on Twitter and I read his blog. He's an educator in Canada, and I learn a lot from him. So this is a quote he said last year, obviously, in 2015. If you're not on Twitter, you're becoming illiterate. So that's a pretty big statement. And I know we probably all feel differently about that. But what I would like for you to do from that comment right here, if you're not on Twitter, you're becoming illiterate, I'd like for you to respond to that quote from George Couros on Answer Garden. And Answer Garden is a quick response tool that you can use with your students, and it allows for a 20-character answer. So it's more for brainstorming ideas and things like that, and not long, diatribes about something. So thinking about the fact that you only have 20 characters for your answer, respond to George Kouros's statement that if you're not on Twitter, you're becoming illiterate. And so here's the link to that. And this whole website, this whole video will also be available to you as a presentation. So you'll be able to click on that link. So for right now, I'm just going to keep going since I'm waiting on you to click on the link. And we will take a look at, well, you can take a look while you're answering the questions from other people, and we'll have a quick talk about that on the Google Plus site later on. So respond to that question. If you're not on Twitter in 2015, you're becoming illiterate. Okay, so, and I will have to say, speaking of Twitter, I do use Twitter, and that was my first, 10 years ago when Twitter started. Twitter was my first introduction to this, using social media for professional development. And I got a lot of great people that I followed, and I have learned a lot from them. I have to say now that I use Twitter in a little bit different way, and I use other tools more for that back and forth conversation because Twitter has gotten so big. And so I am on Twitter and I share on Twitter, but I don't participate back and forth in a lot of conversations on Twitter now. So when we're talking Twitter and George Kouros's comment, think about that in a bigger sense, because you're going to have to find the space that works for you. And it may not be Twitter. It may be another space where you can connect with educators. And of course, that's going to evolve as well. But anyway, here's a video on connecting with educators online using Twitter. And my hope is that I can play this right in this other video, get a little meta here. And so we'll see how that goes.
Hello, I'm going to be talking to you about Twitter. I cannot imagine being in my classroom as a teacher without being on Twitter. Before I was on Twitter, my professional development went something like this. Choice one was I went to a really boring professional development thing hosted by my district because most professional development stinks. I got nothing out of it that actually inspired me or actually truly led to a transformative classroom. Or choice number two, I'd go to a conference. It would be amazing. I get this one really cool idea, and then I was done. I'd have that idea and whatever. It was end of story. Since being on Twitter, I still have to go occasionally to professional, I'll use that in quotes, professional development. It really doesn't affect my classroom in a positive way. If anything, it just makes me bitter about my time being wasted. But when I do go to conferences, suddenly it's this amazing way to connect with people. It's not about the ideas, it's about the people. And for me, Twitter has changed that completely. Because I follow the people on Twitter, and they often follow me, same people that I see at conferences, it's no longer, oh, what should I go see at this conference? It becomes, who should I go see? Their content is important, but I would say these days, more importantly, it's who I'm going to see that really makes a difference. And here's why that's such a difference for me these days. The conference is this kind of encapsulated ecosystem that has nothing to do with the rest of the teaching world. You go there and you're like, oh, it was great to visit Charlie and the Chocolate Factory for a day. And we didn't visit Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, we visited the Chocolate Factory. Went to visit the Chocolate Factory today. Oh, that was amazing, what a great time. All right, back to real life, blah, blah, we don't have one-to-one, we don't have this. If you're following the people, you go to the Chocolate Factory for the day, and then it's like you have a lifetime supply of chocolate, right? Because I'm following the people who are giving presentations, I'm able to continue the conversation. I can implement what they talked about and then reply to them. Hey, loved your talk. I have a question. Hey, I'm doing this. You talked about this at whatever conference. Here's what I'm doing with it. But even a bigger scale, when I go to conferences, I don't have to go to sessions anymore because Twitter has become my professional development. By following passionate, connected educators, that is my professional development. Every day, I can just pull out my phone, open up an app on my computer, and just scroll through all these amazing ideas. Sometimes they're inspirational quotes, but usually it's just great resource, great idea, here's a great lesson, have you done this? So my workflow as an educator has increased and become so much more efficient compared to not being on Twitter. I'm often asked whenever teachers hear me say, "You're on Twitter for being a teacher? Seriously?" And my answer is, well, yeah, of course. I can't imagine teaching without it. And the follow-up typically, say it with me if you know, how do you have time for Twitter? And without being too rude, my question for them is, how do you not have time to become a better teacher? So if you're thinking Twitter's all about burgers and beaver, you're following the wrong people on Twitter. It should be about following connected educators who want to share what they're going through, great ideas that didn't work out, great apps and resources and blogs. And by following those types of people, it will dramatically change your classroom and you and your experience as a teacher.
Okay, I think that worked. I did get interrupted in the middle and had to hit pause and then play again, but I think we got that done. So I totally agree with what he said about how powerful it is, and probably as a new teacher, I hope that you will get to go to conferences and learn from others, but I found that kind of what he said, but going to conferences or going to that face-to-face stuff, it's still good to sit down and meet with somebody face-to-face, but I learn every day from my professional learning network, and several people in my professional learning network I've never met in person. And it's funny, just recently I was at a workshop a conference in Seattle, and I met somebody who is a teacher in Kansas who is there presenting also, and we have been sharing with each other on Twitter and Plurk and Flickr and all kinds of different things for the last probably about 6 or 7 years. And during that time, I've connected with her class and done my husband does wastewater management, and they were learning about wetlands for wastewater management, and so I talked to them about that and how that works at Warm Beach and different things like that. So we had never ever connected with each other in person, and we just met at this conference, but we know each other, we know each other's dogs, and we learn from each other. She works with highly capable students and has a lot to teach me about project-based learning, and I have things to teach her, and so it's a really great thing. And that usually happens when I go to a conference, is I meet somebody in person who I have been learning from through social media for years. And so the going and meeting people in person becomes more of just the social piece of it than the actual where I go to learn, because I'm going to learn every day on social media. So what does it take to be a connected educator? And Bill didn't quite say this. He basically said, the bit about time, how do you not have time to do this? But really, 20 minutes a day of just kind of checking your system, whatever system you get set up for yourself, sharing a few things that have happened in your classroom, questions that you have, and reading your Twitter feed or your Facebook feed or wherever it is that you're learning from other educators. And it really does just take that. So the idea of what does it take to be a connected educator, willingness to be digitally literate, so you have to be willing to jump on and use these tools, willingness to seek out and connect with other educators, and this is a huge one. It's funny, in my district, even when I was still in the classroom with kids, other teachers would come to me and ask me to talk to my people about something. They had a question and they wanted an answer, and they knew maybe I didn't know the answer, but that I had this great group of educators all over the world that I could ask. And so instead of building their own PLN, they would ask to use my PLN to get answers. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So willingness to explore and share ideas with other educators, willingness to develop and maintain professional learning network of sources, and this idea of sharing with others and this willingness to explore. Seriously, you get online and you say, hey, I've got this idea, and people will jump on with you. There's so many great collaborative tools available, all the Google Apps for Education, Microsoft Office 365, lots of other tools as well. And you can actually create curriculum together online, or develop a lesson, or develop a unit plan. And it's pretty amazing what can be created in that way. Willingness to peruse, engage, and share pertinent educational blogs. So you've got to kind of take a little time to learn what blogs work for you. And willingness to be a lifelong learner in pursuit of relevance. So all of these things are important. And you see there's lots of different ways to be connected. And it's a two-way street. So it's not just, and sometimes, especially when we're just getting started, there's a lot of consuming. We're the ones who are just kind of lurking and collecting information. And as we get a little braver, we start sharing back out, and so it goes both ways. So what is a PLN? It says, by sharing and following our passions through connections and collaborations with others around the world, we demonstrate lifelong learning for our students. And this is very true. This should be a very transparent thing with your students in your class, that you're learning from others and you're asking other teachers and other educators questions, and other professionals in different fields questions, and you're learning not just in the classroom, and you don't already know it all. And this becomes a community for your students as well, where they have that, they're kind of an extension of your PLN. They have those people that they can depend on as well. So this is just an example, and some of these don't quite fit into the PLN model, more of a social media piece. So these are some ways in my district that I connect with teachers. And a lot of these are set up specifically for me to connect with my teachers in my district, so I can share resources with them. And I've kind of put it in a lot of different ways with the idea I want to reach the teachers where they are. So it's a little different focus for this, but I use these tools for my own personal professional development as well. So just some examples. I have a website where I share resources. This is where I put all of my lessons that I do, all my presentations, all of that. So it's kind of a one-stop shop everybody can go to. In there are classes that I've created that teachers can jump in and take. I have a digital literacy Facebook page. So for people who are already jumping onto Facebook, they can join my Facebook page, and it just pops up in their feed. They don't have to go anywhere. And so a lot of people like using that. I also am on Twitter, and that's one way that I was just noticing that this is around here what it says, but I'm also on Twitter, and so I share a lot of resources, and I share what's happening in our district with others. I have Pinterest, and I've got boards on Pinterest that I collect information and share out. Google Plus communities. I'm a member of several Google Plus communities. In our district, I have one where I'm sharing with teachers. I have a blog that I share out, and then also Instagram. So lots of different ways that I'm sharing out and encouraging others to share back so that it's a two-way conversation. Okay, so we've talked quite a bit about Twitter already, and as I said, Twitter's kind of gotten so big that it can be a little, hard to follow at first, and so there's a lot of good good resources for getting started with Twitter. And this link right here is a good place to get started. It gives you some really good ideas of who to follow and about which hashtags to follow and Twitter chats and all kinds of different things like that. So I'm sharing that here and you can take a look at it. I'm just going to pop over here real quickly to my Twitter account. So this is my Twitter page, and you'll see that I don't know how long I've been tweeting now, but it's been 9 or 10 years. I think Twitter just turned 10. So I've tweeted 7,548 times, and I will say that almost 100% of them were educational. I didn't say I am eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich once. And I'm not following a huge number of people, and actually probably I'm following too many to keep up with. But I specifically am not following a giant number so that I can more likely keep up with who I am following. And all of these are educators. So if I click on this list, these are all educators, and they're saying things, they're sharing resources that I want to pay attention to. Now I have a lot of followers, and who knows who my followers are, so I'm not going to do that. I mean, I don't care, but that's not the important part. The important part for me is who I'm following and who I'm learning from. We can pop on that one too. So in here, again, lots of teachers, that kind of thing. All right. So that is my Twitter feed, and a great way, earlier the person in the video was talking about learning from people on Twitter. So one thing that happens is these conferences that happen, let's see, here's, I'll just, I can't go to every conference, obviously. Q just happened. Let's see if I can find Q16. I have no idea. Yeah, let's see. So Q conference just happened in California, and that's a big conference. And so if I go here, I can start seeing some of the things that people talked about at the conference, and maybe get resources that were shared at the conference and things like that. So that's one way I follow things, is I will follow hashtags. Teachers use that with Twitter chats. So there's different, like this EdChat hashtag here. And this is a real basic EdChat. And so people will get online at the same time and they'll have a question. There'll be a moderator, and people are answering that question and sharing their ideas with the hashtag EdChat. So you'll see lots of different chats going around, but just great opportunities. As you see, almost every one of these has a link attached to it. So they're linking out to good resources. Okay. So that's Twitter. And in this class, we're going to do a little bit with Twitter. We're going to spend more time with Google Plus just because it's a little less crowded there, because we can create a Google Plus community, and we can work within that community a little bit better. So another way, of course, is blogs, both writing blogs and reading blogs. Especially for new teachers, there's blogs that are very specific. If you want to teach second grade science, there's a second grade science teacher who's a blogger out there who you can follow and find out, and probably even teaching from the same resources as you will be, the same kits or whatever. So you can learn a lot from bloggers who are already out there. It's a good way to keep current, new ideas, learn how things work, right from the field. Reflection. George Kuros, who I mentioned earlier, is a great blogger, and he makes me think. Other blogs give me ideas for how things work. Richard Byrne is somebody I follow from Free Tech for Teachers, and he blogs constantly, and he's always sharing new ideas of different resources he finds, web resources and things like that. So it's a great way to keep current. Blogging is a good way to share what's happening, what you're learning, and with others, to join in conversations. Comments are a good way to do that. Who to follow? There's lots of great people to follow, and I can, as we go along, I'll probably share several different ones with you. The EduBlog Awards are something that happen every year, and that's a good place to get an idea of some bloggers who are doing some great things. And so they do, maybe they have 5 bloggers in different categories for 2015, but you can, go back a few years and see bloggers from a few years before to kind of build up a list of who you might want to follow. Now, I use Feedly to keep up with my blogs. So I set up an RSS feed, and instead of having to go out and look at all these blogs every day, let's see, I'm going to jump to my Feedly here real quick. So instead of having to jump everywhere else, I take all of those blog feeds and I put them into one place. Now, I just looked at my Feedly today, so there's not much in there, but I'll bring it over here. So I do 2 things mainly on my Feedly. I have photography stuff, and then I have education, ed tech stuff. So what I've done, and you can see here, is I have a whole lot of feeds. I can't see them all right now. If I go to this ed tech 30, all of these different blogs that I follow. And a lot of people don't blog often, and so it's not like every day I have to read a blog from all of these people, but I have all of these things in here. And so when they do blog or share a video or something like that, it comes into my feed. So I don't have to be looking every day to see if they did or did not. It all comes into the feed, and I use Feedly to do that. Now, Instagram is something I started using this year, and so far my idea is to get teachers in our district to start sharing what's happening in their classrooms with the hashtag MVSD Digital, and I've had a little bit of that happen. Most of what's on my Instagram so far has been me, as I've been out in the schools and stuff, taking pictures and then sharing out. And when I take a picture on Instagram, I share it on Instagram, but I also share it on my Facebook page and on Twitter and on the Pinterest. So lots of different places for people to see that. And teachers are doing a lot of interesting things on Instagram. Maybe they're taking pictures of ideas for how to set up their classroom or different projects that they're doing. So it's not all just, what's happening in class. There's a really wonderful principal in Portland who shares with what's happening in his class in such a beautiful way. And he used to use Flickr, but now he's using Instagram. And I will have to share with you what he is doing. Let's see if I can do that real quick. If I can't find it quickly, I will save it for later. So when I did that, I got, let's see, for some reason my okay, so let's see what I can see with this. Okay, so this is Tim Lauer. As I said, he's a principal at Lewis Elementary in Portland, and he just walks around and shares pictures of what's happening in school every day. It's really fun to watch and see what he has to say. And these pictures, again, he shares on Twitter, and he does just a really nice job with that. So you can do that as a teacher as well. And I think what did I do with my presentation? There we go. Sorry about that. Got lost. Okay. Google Plus. You may or may not be familiar with Google Plus. I know that by this point you have joined our Google Plus group. And there's some things that I like about Google Plus. I'm still not sure that Google Plus is going to stay around forever because it hasn't made the headway that Facebook and Twitter have made. But what I like about Google Plus, and I'm going to pull it over here, a couple of things. One thing that I really like about Google Plus is that you can create circles of people, so you don't have to look at everything in one place. I don't necessarily use my circles very much, but I could use family, from Mount Vernon schools, from Western or whatever. I could have these different circles of people. But what I use a lot is the communities, and that's what we're doing with our class. But so I've created some communities. So these are in our district. I've got our early tech adopters and tech TOSAs and professional development and things like that. But then I'm also a member of lots of different communities as well. So I'm in the Google Educator group for Washington, which is a great group for me to be involved in since we are a Google Apps for Ed's district. And so anytime I have a question about anything, somebody in that group will know the answer. And hopefully sometimes I can share as well. I'm also a member of this group, Instructional Technology Integrators and Coaches. And again, like this one has 4,000 people, and they all kind of have a similar position to mine. So we're always sharing and connecting. This group, this community here, Connected Classrooms, this is for teachers who want to connect with other teachers. So this is a great place. We have a teacher who you'll meet later, who I'm just going to pop into this group right here. So like here you'll see, looking for a fifth grade teacher who's willing to do a mystery number hangout on Friday, April 1st. We are located in Nebraska. And people looking for a sixth grade class to do exchange written letters, looking for a third grade class learning Spanish. And so these teachers are looking for classrooms to interact with. Very cool. So I love Google Plus for that. So you can kind of have your own little groups. But then if I go back to my home page, sorry, got off of here too soon. If I go back to my home page, I've got all my groups in one place. And I can just sort through them and see what I want to see the latest stuff, and just kind of jump through. So I don't have to go to each community individually to see it, unless I'm specifically, working with one community at the time. So I can get a kind of a good idea of what's going on around me, share what I need to share, ask the questions I need to ask. So I know you could read this, but I'll read this for you. The new literacy beyond text and image is one of information navigation. The real literacy of tomorrow entails the ability to be your own personal reference librarian, to know how to navigate through confusing, complex information spaces and feel comfortable doing so. Navigation may well be the main form of literacy for the 21st century. John Seeley Brown. So I think this is a really good quote, and it kind of segues from one part of this section to another, but it is very easy to get lost in the social media as professional development. There's just so much information out there. So learning how to navigate that is a huge bit of our literacy for us and also for our students. And so we need to learn how to, things like my Feedly, that takes those blogs and puts them all into one place for me, collects that information. Things like Pinterest, where I can grab interesting sites and put them there so I can go back to them later. Those are ways that I'm trying to navigate all of this confusing, complex information space. So, an example, and we kind of talked about this before, a lot of teachers are using Pinterest for this. And this educator here, Casey Bell in Texas, she has a lot of great things, but one thing that she shared was 50 educators you should follow on Pinterest. So if you like Pinteresting, you might want to try that. And this has a link, so if you click on it, you get to a link. And then different curation tools. So I use a tool called Digo to collect my resources. So as and you may have heard of Digo, there's other ones out there. Even Pinterest can be used in this way. But a curation tool is a tool that you use when you're looking through your Twitter account, when you're looking through your Google+, when you're looking through your blogs, and you find something that's interesting that you want to keep, that it's a resource that you want to go back to, or a website or something like that. And you use these tools to kind of put them in your library in a way that makes sense to you. And it gives you a place so you can go back and search for them and find them when you need them. I have to say that I'm not always the best about actually setting it up so it works that way very well, but I do save things using Digo. It's very good to actually tag them when you save them so that you can easily find them again, and they end up in groups that make sense and all of that. So this video here, and I'm not going to show this now, I'm going to let you go back to the presentation and click on it later. It tells you a little bit about how to set up your Digo for curating content. Here's another tool called EduClipper. EduClipper kind of reminds me of a Pinterest site that's built for educators. You may find it useful, you may not, but it's worth taking a look at to see what you think about that. Another one, again, is Pinterest. You know, Pinterest came around a little bit before EduClipper, and then EduClipper came, and teachers were already using Pinterest. So, you know, why do they need to change tools? So that's two tools there. So what I'd like for you to do is take a look at some of these tools and choose one. And maybe you've already chosen one that you're using for your other studies, and that's great. Choose one and that you'd like to collect the information for this class and hopefully beyond, and set it up. And what you're going to do is, there's different ways depending on what the tool is for sharing that on your digital portfolio. We can talk about that later. I just want you to kind of look at the different tools and choose one that you use to start collecting information. Okay. And so that's one of your goals for today. The other one is to reflect and share on our Google Plus community. So I've got 2 articles here on Connected Educators, and I'd like for you to read those articles and then answer the question, share your thoughts on that, and also the George Couros quote about becoming illiterate if you're not on Twitter, and consider responding. So anyway, share your thoughts on these 2 articles, and then also you can respond to others' comments as well. So that's your assignment for today in Google+. Now I think I've already talked about speed geeking before, but we will be speed geeking next Monday when we come to class. So I will be sending out an email to each of the groups, and so you can take a look at the different tools, and then we'll do a little speed geeking in class. We'll talk about that later on. So your collaborative teams, your next steps, collaborative teams from Monday are going to be presenting your Tech Integration Framework lesson and quiz. So be ready for that on Monday, April 11th. And as I said, be on the lookout for your speed geeking assignment in your email, and be sure to consistently start adding and building your digital portfolio as you create things in class. So now, as far as what we've created in class, you should have your blog started, so your blog should be linked, and then also your framework lesson and quiz can also be embedded or linked on the digital portfolio as well. So I look forward to seeing you on Monday, and have a great weekend, and thanks for sitting here and listening to me this long.